Yeah,
I'm scared.
you should be scared.
I am.
And all this good. You can turn it up.
Got a lot of questions there, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Exam question.
Really? Okay.
Just hit the blank slide. There you go. Well, good evening, everybody. Now, if you do me a favor, take your phones out, since y'all like using your phones in church. Go to our video. There's probably two of them up on the Facebook page. Don't matter which one. Hit that share button for me. So while y'all doing that, this is our first time doing his When Ebenezer Talks podcast in person. So we're going to start with this first question. I think this is pretty easy, but what made you want to start a podcast? At least I know it's live.
Yeah, it's live. Live and in living color. This could be a bloopers right here. Hey, Dominic.
Hey, Milton.
How you doing?
So why did you want to start a podcast?
You and I were talking, I think, during the pandemic,
Okay.
about what we could do to keep ministry going forward. And so what turned out to be a moment to update people on what we were doing at church turned into us doing interviews of people. And it has been growing ever since. Growing to the point that some other pastors are now getting ready to do it, have called me and getting tidbits on how to do it.
And I know we started 2020. I want to say around May-ish we started. So within the past 3 and some years, what have you learned? One, from a technical point of what a podcast has helped you, and then from the people that you interviewed, how did you gain knowledge?
Well, one thing I learned that I don't sweat when I don't have people in here. That's what I've learned. I haven't really dealt with the technical part because, I'm not technologically inclined. But I've learned a lot about people, listening to their issues, listening to their dilemmas, listening to what they've gone through. Sometimes it's good for the community to hear people in their nakedness, in their raw and uncut. Because we see everybody, preachers for example, we see them on Sunday morning, suited up, robed up, preaching, but you don't really know what they go through, what they face, what they deal with. And so I've learned a lot about people and how diverse they are, if that answers your question.
Yeah.
I haven't learned nothing about the technical side because I haven't tried. That's your area.
Well, I wasn't talking technical in terms of the technology side, but more so, you waking up one morning or, you listening to somebody online to say, hey, you know what, maybe I would like to try to do my own podcast.
Yeah, and I've already started thinking about ideas because we won't be doing it every week now. We'll be going back to twice a month. And so I've already started thinking about ideas for next month. We're moving out of the clergy realm, moving into, my mind is leading me in 24 to deal with finances for many reasons. And one of those things I think we're going to do next month is we're going to interview people pertaining to financial management, how to grow your money, Because one of the things, our churches are struggling financially, and it's not because we're not teaching tithing, it's because we haven't taught people how to manage their money. Either I'm going to go pay my $300 electric bill, or I'm going to pay my tithe. If I've never learned how to manage my money, Sunday morning going to wait. I'm going to keep my electricity on because I've never learned how to manage money or turn my lights off.
Well, we won't talk about you running out of gas. But anyway.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
You being pastor for 21 years.
21 years.
And now you're president, or on your second and last term.
Thank you, Jesus.
Of the Baptist General Convention. You pastoring here, and also as of this year, I believe, became pastor at St. Mary's. And now also from a personal standpoint, dealing with your mother and her illness. From your perspective, how has your mother's illness affected you as a pastor?
It has affected me where, if you know me and know me personally, I'm a very private person. I don't share a lot. I don't talk about a lot. I work harder now in the last 6 months. That's why I was late tonight. I've worked more now than I have in the last 10 years. Preaching has kept my mind off of everything else. You've heard me say this, some other people heard me say this, if I can just make it to here, I don't worry about nothing else. Just let me make it to here. If I can get here, I can get through it. My mother's sickness has really helped me see life in a different way, and how we stress about things that's not really worth stressing over, and how we work, and we never do what we want to do. Taking time for yourself to enjoy life. And see, me being the only child, that has its advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is I don't answer to nobody. I'm in charge. But the disadvantage is I have no help bloodline. My help comes from out of the bloodline. You follow me? And so you got to learn. I've learned that, number one, nobody comes to stay. They're going to leave. Spend as much time with them as you can. Make sure you love them and let them know you love them. And so when they leave, you have no regrets. If my mother dies right now, no regrets. Because I've made sure that she has everything she needs. That's why she's not in my house. She's in a house where she can be taken care of 24/7. And so it's not an issue. I don't care what I got to go through. She's going to be taken care of. And my advice to every son, love them while you can. Because, and she taught me this, and I didn't listen at the moment. Your parent ain't got to die for her or him to not be able to help you or talk to you. They ain't got to die. They can be in a state like my mother's in and just lay there. You got to be able to deal with that. And prayer has helped me. I've prayed more in the last 6 to 8 months than I probably ever prayed in my life. And so that is what's carrying me through.
In the midst of you being carried through by the love of your mother, I know from a personal standpoint, you gained friendships, you lost friendships, and you going through a divorce. So what lessons have you learned from your friendships in your recent divorce?
Friendships. Everybody's not your friend. You learn who your friends are as God blesses you. As long as you stay at a certain level, your circle is big. But as God elevates you, your circle becomes smaller. And Dominic, I've learned that you can't go to the next level God has for you carrying dead weight.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I thought were my friends were not friends. They were leeches. They were leeching on so they could have a peace, so they could say that they were a part of. You learn who your friends are when you're going through. You learn who your friends are when you're going through. Jasper Williams said something at a conference. Having been through a divorce, having been pastoring a church, and I have to agree with him. These people here have become my family. Even when we don't get along, they've become my family. Now that divorce piece, how do I say it? Say the question again. What did I learn?
Lessons have you learned?
When they tell you don't do it, listen. Study the person and make sure you are connected spiritually, financially, and prayerfully. And somebody's going to say, well, why you split spiritually and prayerfully up? Because you can go to church together and not pray together and fail.
That's right.
You can be so caught up in ministry, doing ministry together, and not minister to each other and fail. And you've heard me say this privately. I didn't know you were going to start them questions this early.
Oh, yes, sir. They'll get easy after this, I promise.
You've heard me say this, and I know I'm going to catch flack online. I don't want another first lady. I want a wife. If God is to bless me, and I think he is, to do it a second time, I don't want first lady status. I want a wife. I can handle this. That's what I got them for. I want to leave here and come home and enjoy being there. You ain't got to run everywhere I go. You ain't got to go 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And a lot of times pastors marry for the wrong reasons. You marry because you want someone to look good for the church. And when the benediction's over and everybody goes home to their little happy cubicle, you go home unhappy. See, I know what it is to come in here and preach, because I just told you, if I could just get here. And I didn't, a lot of times I'd preach forever and forever and not stop. Or be upset because I didn't have a 4 o'clock service to go to preach. Or that I wasn't getting in my car to go run a revival because I didn't want to go home. Wow. The next time, I want to shorten the sermon so I can hurry up and get home.
My Lord.
You follow me?
How about you?
And since you're on the subject, why did you do this first? Since you're on the subject, all of that is not on the other person.
Right.
there's just much fault in me as it is in the other person. You follow me?
Yep.
Pastors got to stop lying. If you don't put time in to that and put all your time into here, and if you, old man said this to me, who wasn't a preacher. A married man can't hang out with a single man. Okay? A married man can't hang out with a single man, because if you hang out with a single man, eventually you're going to start doing what a single man does.
Yeah.
Follow me?
Yeah.
So you got to be very careful. And so I'm going to be very careful the next time. Very careful. And so you learn a lot. You learn how to maneuver. You learn how to make certain that that person in your life is number one. And so my whole mindset about marriage has changed. It's no longer about me. It's got to be about us. And they got to bring something to the table, and you got to bring something to the table, and y'all got to be willing to work together. That's just not for pastors' marriages. That's for anybody's marriage. If she's bringing it all to the table and you ain't bringing none, or if you're bringing it all and she ain't bringing none, then y'all don't need to get married. Somebody's credit score needs to be better than the other. Somebody needs to know how to manage the money. Somebody needs to know how to cook. If both of us can't cook, we in trouble. You follow me?
Yeah.
Somebody need not mind driving, because the other person might not want to drive.
That's true.
So
I went that route because a lot of people, a lot of pastors do not talk about that.
they don't. And you know
we
why they don't?
Why?
Because we have made our members look at us with one set of eyes. We only want the church to see us in that pastoral, clerical, ecclesiastical way. Pastors are, I'm a man. All man. Ain't nothing feminine about me. I'm all man. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And I have the same issues as any other man in this room, any other man watching. All man. The difference is I'm called by a God who imparts into me understanding about the scriptures that I need to learn and break down to give them. But at the end of the day, I'm still a man. And so when you're in the mall and a pretty girl walks by, I'm going to look, because I'm a man.
You're a man.
You follow me?
I understand.
And pastors have to stop being afraid to say in front of their congregations, look, I messed up. And I've never been afraid to do that. I ain't never been afraid to stand in front of these people and say, listen, I messed up. I did it wrong. I made a mistake. I did not hit the button that says unmute myself on the Zoom. You follow me?
You did it this time, though.
I did it
you
this
did great
time.
Tuesday.
And when pastors are able to sit down and have conversations with their congregation, letting them know that, listen, we're human and we're subject to make mistakes. And when they can accept you and know that you're willing to be accepted in your season of mistakes. I was 26 when I came here. I had only been married 2 weeks.
Wow.
And when I came here, I was 26, been married 2 weeks. The congregation was predominantly an older congregation that had known me when my mother was carrying me in her belly. And so I had favor And so I was going through various stages. I had never raised kids. So all I knew was how I was raised. I had never pastored. I didn't have anything to go by but what I had seen Wilson do, Clifford do, Baylark do, Brim do. That's all I knew. And I had to learn as I go. And I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still trying to figure out how to reach them every Sunday. And every week there's a different challenge. Now it's getting harder. And it was hard because I put a lot of time here and not enough time home. The second time, I'm going to put more time home than here. Because this is not going to last. Somebody going to come here. God already got the next pastor for Ebenezer. We don't know who they are. So I got to make sure that home is taken care of. But then home got to take care of me too. Okay? You were going to ask me something. I went on a tangent.
I really don't know what it was, but what advice would you give to a younger pastor who is ministering to an older congregation?
Patience. Patience. And not try to change them into something that they're not ready for. Let them sing and worship their way. And while you're doing that, introduce them to new ways. Let them see it. Bring in preachers and churches that don't do it the way you do. And gradually introduce that to them. Give them time to learn how to do things new. And preach. Preach the hell out of them every Sunday. Don't leave no stone unturned here. Because here is the most important part of your ministry. Because that's what God called you to do. And I would tell them to do that. I would tell them to ask God to give you patience. Go to school. You can't lead people. You got people sitting in your audience that are educated, and you are high school trained. That's a sad indictment. You can't lead them if you're not trained. Because you, in the same breath that you should spend, this is your number one area right here, in the same breath, there are going to come areas in the pastoral ministry where you're going to have to get out of the Bible and go to the bank. Go negotiate with contractors. Don't leave all that to your trustees. Or at least have enough sense, enough understanding in your mind, enough wisdom to be able to train your trustees to go do those things. But if you don't have the training, you can't train them. So they don't understand what they're reading. You don't understand what you're reading. Somebody about to get screwed up. So my advice to a young pastor, love your people, spend time with them. Figure out creative ways like we're doing tonight. Spend time with your people. Your people need you. And don't make the mistake I made of staying on the road too much. And they ain't going to say amen, but they're saying it to themselves. Don't make that mistake. I've made that mistake. I've stayed on the road too much. I've built a major ministry on the road, but I haven't spent enough time here. And that would be my advice to them. Love them. Love them. Love them. Be there for them. Check on them. Go above and beyond. Whatever you can think of, whatever you can conjure up in your mind, be willing to do that. And teach them how to love you. Because there's no need of you as a pastor. I can't get mad at Ebenezer for not doing for me if I've never taught them to do it. If I ain't never taught them how to take care of me, I can't get mad at them for that, because they ain't never been taught. That's my fault, not theirs. I can't expect them to know what to do for me for Clergy Appreciation Month or whatever month if I've never taught them. For example, they ought to know, I'm going to act like they're not in here. They ought to know I don't like chocolate cake.
I knew that.
So if you're celebrating me, why are you going to get a 7-layer German chocolate cake? You know your pastor don't eat chocolate cake. You follow me?
Yep.
Those are things you need to know about your pastor. So that would be my advice.
And for those pastors who are young and single and one day want to say I do.
You're killing me with these bad questions tonight.
It's the last one. What would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
Whew. Pray. 2 P's. Pray hard and keep your private life private. And be so private that your people, how do I want to say it? Be private enough where your people are not in your business, but be man enough to let them know you're going to have a personal life. The pastor cannot do everything openly. I'm old school. I'm not going to be sitting at Don Valero's at the bar, China Chef at the bar on Friday night for my members' grandchildren to see me. Nah, not going to do that. Single pastors got to be very careful. You got to be careful about the other single pastors that you hang with. Because if they don't care about their reputation, you ought to care about yours. And you, as a single pastor, you got to not let them rush you into something. They sure can't pick her for you because they ain't got to live with her. But you do need to consider if you're going to stay at the church for any length of time or you think you're going to stay at the church. My mind tells me now, and pretty much as always, and I think you know this, I'm going to probably retire here. Here. Now, I don't know if they know, they want to hear that, but I'm going to retire here. It would take an act of God waking me up at 3 a.m. and showing me the church sitting where it is and sending me there. He would have to literally, I'd have to see him in my bedroom, stand in front of me in all of his glory and say, you will leave Ebenezer and you will go to Mount Moriah in wherever. At 47. I don't want to learn nobody new at 47. But for the pastor that's single, if you're planning on staying at that church for any length of time, you need to make certain that you don't pick them up, put them down, pick them up, put them down. I'm not talking about the holy dance either. Because they can't handle that. They can handle one divorce, but they can't handle multiple. They can handle one girlfriend, they can't handle multiple. And I'm speaking from experience. This church right here has stood by me through the darkest of times. And ain't skipped a beat. Now, they've talked about me behind my back. You go anywhere, they do that. All of them do it. But when the rubber met the road, I ain't worried about these people because I knew they had my back. You got to make certain that you're in a church that's going to have your back. They're going to talk. They're going to get mad. They're going to sit on you and grit on you while you preach some Sundays. Let them do it. They'll make you preach harder. You preach an hour them Sundays, make them madder. But at the end of the day, it goes back to what I said earlier. Build a relationship with your people. There's some people out here that know me personally, that can see me when I'm sitting there and look at my face and know something ain't right. And almost can tell you what it is. Now, all of them can't, but 2 or 3 of them in here can. And so at the end of the day, that single pastor has to build a relationship with his people. He has to build a relationship with his leaders. That's very important. If you don't have a relationship with your leaders, you're already set up to fail. You've got to have a relationship with your leaders even when y'all is at war. You got to have a relationship with your leaders, because if your leaders are not in your corner, don't expect the other people to be in your corner. You got me? So at the end of the day, that single pastor, and it's harder now in 2023 because you got Facebook and churches and YouTube, and churches judge their pastor by what they see on social media. And I don't know why they do that on the Eastern Shore, because we don't have the money to do all of the ministry that they see on television. And those churches are struggling to meet payroll. Those churches have low attendance. They're going through the same storms we're going through. But for some reason or another, we're living in a season where on the Eastern Shore, these churches are now judging their pastors. I don't know if Ebenezer does it, but they're judging their pastors by what they see others are doing. Why we can't do that? Why we can't have 10 television monitors behind your head? Because you don't have $25,000 to go put them behind my head. If you donate it, we'll get it. And so the younger pastor that's single cannot get caught up in competition. And I've been there. That was a time in my ministry I wanted to run in certain circles with certain pastors, and I realized later on, and divorce taught me that too, that if you're not willing to do it the way they do, to say it the way they say it, and to be what they want you to be, you'll easily get disconnected from that circle. You'll lose your membership card. And so what I did when I started seeing a difference in attitude, I said, oh, okay. When I do my calendar, scratch that off. Scratch him off. Because if you can't stick with me, and this is a good advice to a young pastor, if you can't stick with me in spite of the decisions I make or the mistakes I make, then you were never with me. And so younger pastors got to learn sometimes to roll alone, eat alone, travel alone. Because when you're alone, nobody can tell on you.
That's true.
Unless you tell on yourself. When you are always, I'm scared of people. I'm scared of preachers that's got to always have a large group around them. They can't walk in without 4 or 5 people. Yeah. They scare me. That's scary. Young pastors have a harder road to hoe than we did when I started. When I started, all I need to do was basically preach, teach Bible study, raise some money, do some missional work. Now, it's so competitive. It's very competitive with everything in church now. I don't have time to keep up with it. You got to keep pulling some kind of rabbit out your hat. You got to keep doing something. Walking the pews don't work no more. Don't work. It used to be a time if you just walk, if you could walk pews, turn around, throw your head back and holler, that would be all people needed. But now people are looking for some rabbit. What is he going to do this week? And if you can't continue to pull a rabbit out your hat, they're going to go to the next person that can do it. And when they get there and after they see that and get bored there, they go somewhere else. And that's why you got to stay in the book. Because you don't pull no rabbits out when you stay between Genesis and Revelations. Just preach the book. And don't worry about all that other. Let that other go. Because I am a witness. It's not going to last. I know what it is. I know what it is to have a multiplicity of friends, to travel, to eat, to sin, to do it all. And I also know what it is to travel alone. And it gets boring sometimes. Sometimes you think about stuff, but you're better off being in the will of God than being out of his will. And so many times we as pastors are out of his will because we're trying to keep up with the Joneses. Just because he go by a new Escalade, oh, now you got to go buy one. You can't even afford the rim on the Escalade. But you're going to go carry your church in there, have a church meeting, get mad when they vote it down because you're really trying to keep up. You don't even like Escalade, but you want it because you're trying to keep up with him. For why? It's not worth it. So.
What is your position? Because it's dealing with, these questions are really dealing more for ministry, not just Ebenezer, but just in general. Your position on the LGBTQ plus community.
We did not rehearse that question.
It was, I mean, I think it's something we need.
We do. It's an elephant in the room.
It's an elephant.
I don't have a problem with gay people.
Neither.
If you want to be gay, be gay. I have friends that are gay. That's fine. Yeah. God loves everybody. And I've said this, there's no big sin or little sin. Sin is sin.
Right.
I'm not a proponent of same-sex marriage because I don't think it's right. I wouldn't marry two people that was of the same sex. Quiet as it's kept, I don't even like marrying men and women. That's why I ordained Evelyn.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that another time. I don't. They take too long. But I think our society has gotten too open. When I was a little boy, you saw people that were questionable. And you would say to your mother, "Mom, what's wrong with Mr. So-and-so?" "Shut up, boy." And be quiet. You shut up, go on about your business. And you always kept it in you. What is wrong, you know? But now we have been liberated, and you are made to accept it. And I think the church has to preach the word, but you have to do it in love. So no, I would not, if two same-sex people came to me and said, "Will you marry us?" I'd say no. But if a married couple came, they were same-sex, they came down the aisle and wanted to join Ebenezer, I would let them join without question. And that may sound hypocritical, I don't know. But I'm not going to marry you because I'm not going to have a part in it. But I can't keep you from salvation. Because God, if he can change the adulterer, the fornicator, the liar, the cheater, the thief, why he can't change the homosexual? So I don't have a problem with them. I don't have a problem socializing with them. The old people used to say they know the kind, or whatever they used to say. And I believe that. I think the church has in some ways disrespected them on some levels because we've bashed them to a point that a lot of times they don't even want to come to church. And I think it's a thin line because there are churches out here that have pastors who are openly gay and they are married and it's accepted. And so I don't really know how that works biblically. But I think the church has to practice love. And I think when the church gets to a point that we can't love you unconditionally, which is what we are taught to do, then we have a problem. The church ceases to be the church when you stop loving people unconditionally. Because I want you to love me in my sin unconditionally that is not homosexually driven. So why can't I love you in your sin? I don't have to support it, but I should be able to love you. I shouldn't walk by you and know you're hungry and not be willing to feed you. I shouldn't see you in a blizzard. You saw me put it on Facebook. I want a blizzard.
I was really upset about that.
You don't want a blizzard? You get anywhere you want to get, as long as me and Ricky got your back. You know
No,
that.
I'm talking about just having a blizzard.
Oh. If that homosexual's in a blizzard and they're homeless, I shouldn't try to find them somewhere to lay their head.
Yeah.
If they're naked, I shouldn't try to find some clothes to put on their back. That's what God calls us to do. And I think sometimes we get caught up on it. I don't like, the only part I really don't like is they try to make you accept them. And other sin they bash. All of it's sin. Let the wheat and tare grow together, and the Lord will come separate it. So.
But, while we're on this, of your last comment, I don't even have this on here, but I think it's not only that love should be shown to those who are homosexual. I think there is an issue as well in the church for those of people like me, who is a millennial, who don't dress the way that we others dress.
Oh, yeah.
But we come in and we are, I think you did a Bible study a couple years ago about a welcoming church.
Yeah.
And how the church are not welcoming to those. And I'm obviously not talking about, I'm just talking in general because we hear that.
Yeah.
That we're not welcome, although we are the future or the next step of the church.
It's a long laundry list of things that the church has to work on. And I've said this on the state level, on the convention level, and I'm saying in the local church. We don't have enough ministry. I'm going to say it this way. We don't have enough ministry for everybody, right. Not just the millennials, for the elderly. I'll talk about us right here. I ought to be leading this church better in elderly ministry, in millennial ministry. But here's the issue with that. You got to have people willing to work in those areas. And churches, and I go back to teaching, churches have to be, and when I say church, I'm talking about people. People have to be taught how to accept others that don't look and act like them.
Right.
You follow me?
Yeah.
And millennials, for example, that's what you're talking about, have to also be willing to accept those persons who are not millennials.
Right.
What did I say to you all when we created the praise team? I wanted you all to sing hymns and the new stuff. Mm-hmm. I want you to mesh it together. Because if all we're singing is the new stuff, what's happening to my elderly congregation? If we don't sing no quartet, what happens to Clarence and his group? You follow me?
Right.
If we don't sing hymns, what happens to those seasoned saints? If all we're singing is the new stuff. And I think the church, we've done a very poor job of teaching. We've learned how to shout. We've learned how to dance. We've learned how to run around the church like we crazy. We've learned how to do all that. We got all that down pat. Fried chicken, pig feet, clam fritter dinners. We got all that down pat. But we have not taught our congregations acceptance. We've got to learn how to accept each other in spite of each other. So if you come in Ebenezer Sunday morning with a t-shirt on and a pair of jeans that's got rips in them and you bought them that way, nobody's mouth should drop. But in so many churches, that's still going on. Now, thanks be to God, that doesn't happen here, I don't think. At least doesn't come to my desk. Because, and I helped. I'm going to have an arrogant moment. I helped. Because I made up in my mind early in my ministry that Ebenezer was not going to dictate what I wore. You may dictate a lot of things, but you're not going to dictate what I put on my back. So if I wake up Sunday morning, I want to come in with jeans and some cowboy boots and a T-shirt that says Sanford and Son, that's what I'm going to preach in. Or if I want to put on a tailor-made suit and some skins, that's what I'm going to preach in. And you shouldn't come in looking at what I'm wearing. You ought to want to know what's on that paper. Because if I ain't got nothing on that paper and I got on a nice Josephus, which I do not own Josephus, robe, I threw that out there for them.
I got you. I know where the place is.
Yeah. And I have nothing on that paper, but I'm robed up real ecclesiastical. And I haven't said anything to help them get through their week. It don't matter what I have on. Now, I am not a proponent of looking like a bum all the time. And I think that's the issue I have with millennials. Somewhere along the line, millennials got to learn, and let's just talk about the dressing, that style of dressing is not going to be permitted in every area you go in. I worry about millennials because when you go on a job interview at a Fortune 500 company and they look at you dressed with the ripped jeans and the T-shirt, and you expect them to accept you because of what you have here, but we still live in a society that wants to know what your degrees are, and they judge you by where you look. Yeah. I think millennials miss the mark, and you spend too much time on trying to make them accept you. There has to be a balance. Right. And I don't think sometimes millennials get that. You just want us to, sometimes I think millennials want us just to throw the hymn books out, throw the Bible out, throw the organ out, throw the pulpit out, get a bar stool and a pub table, sit on the floor and talk. And I ain't got a problem with that sometimes.
Don't throw that organ out.
I want to throw that one out and get a new one. But you've got other people out here who may need someone to stand. We tried that one Sunday.
We did.
And I had a member who shall remain nameless said to me, Pastor, I liked it, but I didn't like it. And I said, okay, explain to me. I liked it because you taught, but I couldn't really get with it because I wasn't used to it. And you get that from this new social media. We don't want to do traditional church. We want to make it feel like we're at a lounge and we're laid back in our lounge and we're just chilling out and we're just talking about the Word of God. And sometimes churches aren't ready for that, especially in the rural. The Eastern Shore is always going to be the last region to get the new wave. Like the new Jordans that come out. This going to be the last area to get them. Everybody else going to have them before we get them, you know. And so a lot of times I think we've got to spend time teaching to help our people understand that, yes, there's more to life than what a friend we have in Jesus, but we can't throw what a friend we have in Jesus away. Let's sing that, and let's sing something else too. And so some Sunday mornings I come in and I'll preach hard and I'll go hard and I'll holler and I'll squall and I'll walk 3-4 pews and flip around and sit on the back of a pew and throw my head back and all that old-fashioned type preaching. And then some Sundays I'll stand here and I won't lift my voice because I never want them to get used to one style. And I also want to be able to meet everybody in the room. And when the pastor ceases to desire to meet everybody in the room, he ceases to be successful at what God has called him to do. You got to try to meet everybody in the room. And now you got two sets. You got everybody in the room and everybody on the camera. And you don't know who's out there. So you've got to be, I'm very careful now when I say white people. I used to say white people all the time when them cameras wasn't in here. The N-word. I used to say the N-word all the time when them cameras wasn't in here. But you got to be careful now because people on the outside, these people know me. They know I'm crazy. They're used to it.
Is he crazy?
Yeah, they know it. They know I'm
I
crazy.
asked him. Is he crazy? Got your answer.
See? But you got to be careful because everybody don't know my crazy.
Right.
They know I don't mean no harm. If I say leave it the hell alone, it don't bother them. They laugh. See, they laughing. But somebody on that camera hear me say that. Oh my God. He said hell. Yeah, you're going to hell if you don't get your life right. But everybody doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
And so we're in a different time. It's hard pastoring now. It is. It's different. 2023 versus 2002.
Oh, man. Big difference.
It is different. You didn't have no cameras. You didn't have to worry about money. People were giving money. The money was in the bank. You didn't have to worry about nothing. Now, you don't know what you're going to get on Sunday morning by way of attendance, by way of money. You don't know nothing. Some Sundays you don't know nothing. And so you got to be ready for that.
As a church member, what can we do to encourage and support the pastor?
Love him or her unconditionally and let them know. Show them. Don't just say it. Don't just wait till that man's anniversary, the woman's anniversary. I love you. We love you, Pastor. And you love the pastor until he or she makes a change in an area that you don't like. Then your love diminishes. Show the pastor you love him. Come to church. Pay your tithe. Give your offering. Not to me. But give it to the church. Pastors are stressing out. And I've been privileged to go in every nook, cranny of this state. The only part of this state that I have not been in as the president is way up in the Shenandoah Valley. And I just talked to the moderator trying to get me to come this year. And I said, I can't. I've already promised my churches I'm not going nowhere else this year. So I got coming 24. But every nook and cranny I've been in this state just about. And pastors are stressed. And they're not stressed of what they're going to preach on Sunday morning. They're not stressed of what they're going to wear. They're stressed over how they're going to keep the church afloat. If you were to ask me, what is my biggest stress or strain, is how I'm going to keep this ship from sinking. Because people don't come to church. I struggle, and this week, working alone a lot, you have time to think. And I've tossed back and forward, like your mother tell you, stay in the house, either gonna be in or out, backward and forward, backward and forward.
That's right.
I've struggled backward and forward turning those cameras off for a month. And the only thing keeps me from doing it is because I have members here who have family, children that are out of the country and other places, and they watch religiously. I have friends that watch religiously and can't wait to hear what I'm going to say on Sunday morning. And that is what has kept me from turning those cameras off, because people won't come to church. You want to show me you love me? Come to church Sunday morning. Get on the prayer call. Get on the Zoom Bible study. I don't need you to do nothing for me but pay me on Sunday morning. Give me my check. Let me go on home. I don't need you to do nothing else for me. Unless you want to do it. But I want you to come to church. Now, I don't know what nobody else wants. But I want you to come to church. And bring somebody with you. Whether they're drunk or sober, bring them. If they smell, well, they sit beside you. You the one got to smell them. I ain't got to smell them. Seriously, bring them to church. Come to church. Bring your children to church. Stop letting your children stay home and play PlayStation and you at church.
I know when I grew up,
and they looking
I ain't had no choice. Are you going to church?
And here comes the crazy. You ready for the crazy? You in church shouting, thinking your child is home playing PlayStation, and they watching porn running up your direct TV bill. And you blaming it on your boyfriend, on your boo, when the bill comes. Where did this come from? I didn't do that. And little Johnny was the one did it.
That Johnny.
You follow me? Little Dominique was the one.
No, sir. I'm not going to hell for that one, bro. No, sir.
Little Dominique ran up Geraldine's direct TV bill.
You won't see me here.
But seriously. I
love you, Mom.
I do too. The best gift you can give. I used to say this when I had anniversaries. I've thought about them. When I used to have an anniversary every year, that would be what I tell the people at 11 o'clock. The best gift you can give me is come back at 4 o'clock. The best gift you can give your pastor is when Sunday morning come, whatever time your service start, be in service. And when you get here, worship. Don't just sit there. Worship. Lift your hands. You know, even if you don't have any money, I want you to bring it. But if you don't let that be the reason why you stay home. And for God's sake, don't stay home because you don't like me. That's crazy. Because sometimes I don't like me. Seriously. Yeah. I ain't coming to church because I don't like him. He makes me sick. Sometimes I make myself sick. Don't stay home. And we have gotten to a place in society, and it's sad, but I think sometimes people think they don't need God. And the only time you want him, here's my soapbox, the only time you want God is when cancer comes, you got a family member on the verge of death or they've died, you need the preacher to marry your child, something. And we've got to get out of that mindset. Black people always went to church.
Joe did.
Every Sunday. And I think I said this to you, or I said it in an interview somewhere. I said it to somebody. I'm still at 47 years old, 21 years pastoring here at this church. Somewhere between, because I don't sleep on Saturday, I sleep, but I'm watching TV a lot of times. Somewhere between early Sunday morning and 12:30, I'm like a kid going on a field trip, provided my sermon is done. Yeah. Provided I've emailed Dominique what I need to email him.
Yeah.
Provided I've emailed Tima or text Tima what I need to send her.
Because we come for you.
You come for me.
Hard.
Yeah, y'all come hard. And I come back hard.
That's all right.
But I get excited. I bet she said something. I'm not looking at her. I get excited about church. But I shouldn't be the only one getting excited about church. Them all, D-E-M-A-L-L, should get excited about church.
I mean, we should. I mean, we made it another
Yeah,
week.
you want to love me? You want to show me? Come church.
Matter of fact, show God.
Yeah, don't show me because I ain't doing nothing for you but preaching. Show him because he the one doing for you. So what you're saying is, I don't have to come on Sunday morning. Not because I don't love the preacher. I don't really care much about God. Because the Bible says what? And I know what somebody's saying online. I ain't got to come to church to show God out. You don't. You're right. But Hebrews 10:24 says, forsake not the assembling of the saints. In other words, don't stop coming to church. Coming to church is more than just giving your money.
That's right.
Sometimes I just need to get here to cut up with Clarence.
Get some of his money.
To cut up with Clarence, to pick on Kim and Elvis, to get Wisteria and Cheddar going at each other. I just come, sometimes you've had a hard week and you just want to be around the other saints to clear your mind of all that craziness. You follow me?
Yep.
And so sometimes I think we miss it. Because people just miss church now, just don't even care. And I've tried it. I've tried watching the service at home. Like I want to see a preacher, because now you can just go and you can be in Arkansas, you can be in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching church while I'm cooking turkey wings. I'm not getting nothing out of that service. I'm watching church online while I'm washing clothes. I'm in my shop working on something, and I'm got the service on Facebook. What are you getting out of that? You see it, you hear it, and you pull from it, but at the end of the day, it's nothing like being in this room at 12:30 where all the saints are together. No, we don't get along all the time. We don't even like each other all the time. Sometimes we get mad with each other. Sometimes we stop talking to each other. Yep. But it's nothing beats coming here in this room with them all. You can't beat it. You can't. And anybody that tells you they can get just as much online, they're lying. Especially on them days where Facebook is acting up. Them days where it just keeps circling. Mm-hmm. Or it does whatever it does when you're in the middle of the service and then it starts over and goes back to the beginning. That's probably your fault.
No. I wish it was, but it's not. You done?
I'm done.
Good. I got another one.
I feel like I'm being catechized.
No. I mean, I think 21 years. I mean, I'll go here. I've known you since 2002.
I met you
at Mount Calvary.
I met you at Mount Calvary. I was working a funeral. On a good day, I could tell you who the funeral was. And I heard you playing, and I needed a musician. And I asked Jeff Smith. I said, Jeff, who was that young man? He told me who you was. Still didn't know you.
Didn't know you.
And I walked up to you. I said, man, I need somebody to play on second Sunday. And the rest is history.
The rest is history. And here we are. Years later. And you are like a son to me. And you like a father.
Yeah.
And through all of that, I've seen the highs, the lows, the middle, your successes,
my failures. That's right.
The whole nine. And to say that I'm never judge you because you're just as human as me. Now, I'm not saying I do what you do. I might pick up some of your mannerisms.
I hope not.
Well, depending on which ones we're talking about here. But I've also learned that, we have our little here and there.
We don't, Dominic. We don't.
No, I don't mean no major argument. You say stuff, I say stuff.
It's not like me and Tima.
Oh, that's... Woo. Okay, this next question. You want to ask a question?
No. Her nor Kim can ask any questions tonight.
But that's what you look forward to on Sundays. And I think what I mean by that is what you just said. We're all a family.
That's right.
So every Sunday to me is like a family reunion.
That's right.
This literally has become my second church. Number one, definitely for my great uncle, Uncle Roy. So for me to come over here, I remember Mr. Bush being over here. And, I remember when Pastor Smith would come and do baptism over here. Mm-hmm. He did baptism over here. We didn't have a pool yet, and we did it here. And 12:30, I mean, it was loaded. It was not a seat. Mm-hmm. I mean, chairs was out. I mean, we heard a 3-minute poetry lesson, and that was it. That was the sermon. Yeah. But Ebenezer has always been my second home. I played everywhere, but this has always been my second home. So I'm glad that I was able, even after Wilson left and that you came and then we eventually meet, that I still was coming here. And so I know my testimony for myself that I have learned a lot, not just at Mount Calvary, my home church, but I also learned a lot here. And you have opened the door for me to do a lot of stuff that I wanted to try. And some worked,
some didn't. Yeah.
To be able to do this stuff here, now I'm doing it on my own. You know? Yeah. So, I mean, you have really been a blessing to me, even from a ministerial point of view, also from personal. So, you know, I just wanted to spill that out.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I still like you. I don't like your teams.
But that's fine.
You know,
that's fine.
I mean, 49ers suck.
You
they suck. They about to get their third loss.
You can't be perfect.
Right. Not at all.
Yeah.
Especially as a Laker fan. But here's the next question. When does a pastor start to discern the direction of the church should have taken before it's too late?
I thought you was getting ready to ask me, when does a pastor discern when it's time to retire? That's what I thought you were going to ask me.
All right, that's one here too.
Oh,
but
okay.
We tie that in.
When does a pastor discern when it's time to do what?
That the direction of the church, where the direction of the church should go to before it's too late.
That comes through prayer. If the pastor is not spending quality time in prayer, he or she will never know the direction of the church. You've got to come in this room through the week and lay on that floor and talk to God and tell God, I need you to show me what to do with them all. Because if you don't spend time in prayer, you'll never know the direction. Right. And sometimes God does not reveal it to you when you want it or how you want it. And you got to stay before the Lord. You got to stay faithful to prayer. And you got to make certain that God is the one speaking and not man. Because if God speaks, he'll provide. Pastors have to know how to pray more than they do preach. Preaching is easy. I can write a sermon in about 15 minutes. I take that basket, and in about 12 minutes I come with a sermon. But you got to have a prayer life, because in 2023 or any year, if the pastor's not praying for vision and provision, you're going to have a whole nother level of trouble. And I don't know if that's everybody's testimony, but that's mine. I lay on this floor. I lock the door because I know who got keys. And I lay on this floor and I talk to God. And I do it every week. I don't miss. And I do it because I know who I'm pastoring. I know what I'm pastoring. I know the areas that we are struggling in. And even if he doesn't fix them under me, I don't want it to sink under me. You follow me? This church may not ever have $1 million in the bank under me. But I don't want it to sink and close up under me. And churches are closing up every day. I don't want it to have to merge with somebody else. I don't want nobody to merge with us either. So you got to lay before God. And I don't mean you got to just, I choose to come here. Because that's just how I am. But a pastor needs to spend quality time in prayer and call those persons' names and say to God, God, I need you to fix this and teach them how to pray. That's why I was so animate in that video last week, because I need them all praying. Now, I got that them all from Clarence. I just want you to know that. I need them all praying. I need the church praying. I don't need to be the only one praying. Your pastor does not need to be the only one praying for the church. You need to be praying for the church. Because if you're not praying for the church, I question, are you praying for yourself? If all you're doing is just going through life every week, going to work, going home, going to work, baking a pork chop, eating it, going to bed, getting up, going to work, baking a turkey wing, going to bed, going to work, drinking some wine when you're stressed, eating ice cream when you're stressed, but you never spend no time in prayer. So that is where, and you gotta know your church. You gotta know when your church is ready to move in another direction. Case in point, New Year's Eve. Let the cat out the bag. I'm not really planning on giving nothing away New Year's Eve. I'm going to give away sermon and prayer and maybe a chicken wing. And I'm going home. Because we do that and we do it to be a blessing. But when does the blessing turn into a leech? Is that the only reason you coming? Because you know Palmer, Bunting, and Ebenezer going to give away some TVs? Pay some electric bills? You come New Year's Eve, get your electric bill paid, but you have no church home, and you don't come back next Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Next year.
And then the flip side of that is to put us on blast. What are we doing after we give away after we pay the electric bill or the give away the TV? What type of communication are we doing as a church? Tima's going to love this. As a church, what letter are we going to send? What text are we going to send to you? What information are we going to get from you while you're here to stay in contact with you? Because if you come and you get your electric bill paid, well, when you leave, you'll leave with your electric bill paid, but you also need to leave your email address, your cell phone number, so that you can get the same information everybody else getting. You need to be on that one call, whether you're a member or not, so that when the one call goes out about Bible study, you who won the electric bill, who has no church home, can get it. And maybe after a while, you won't just be a virtual member. You'll be an in-person member. And so we as a church, and I'm talking about Ebenezer, I'm talking about nobody else, I can't. We've dropped the ball because that needs to be a ministry. That when you come from Virginia Street on a Sunday morning or a special event, you don't leave here without leaving your information. And we send it to you text, we send it to your email, we send it to you until you get tired of it. And you have no other trouble. Say, you know what? I'm sick of them Negroes. I'm going to find out what they got going on. And then when you come, everything is so tight. Everything is on point. The time, the punctuality, the singing, the preaching, everything is on point. That you don't want to leave. You want to come back next Sunday. That's where Ebenezer's got to get to. It's got to get to a point that we reach the community and we use all this stuff that we have to reach them. You shouldn't leave here on Sunday morning without somebody talking about that app. And I can't think of it all. Somebody needs to talk about the app. You got 500 people, you said the other day, that have gotten the app. Well, we need 500 more by the fourth Sunday in January. We need 1,000 people with that app by the fourth Sunday in January. So how do we do it? We do it by promoting it. We do it by using this technology, putting some of these people in front of that screen and promoting that app. After service, putting a camera or a phone in front of these members. What did you learn today? How blessed were you? And make sure they're the right member. I was really blessed. Pastor really poured out his heart. I really understood the word I am better, because and hey, look, tell them when you get up to talk, at least say the title of the sermon. That's how you market your church. That's how you promote your church. Putting these screens in these little small churches and just so they can see themselves on the camera, that's crazy. Utilize this equipment and utilize them. The pastor should not have to be the only voice that's on that camera. And when they come back, give them something in my Samuel Cooper voice. Give them something to see. Let them see what you got. Light everything up. Give them a reason to come. And that's the direction that we've got to go in.
We got 2 more questions.
Oh, boy. They're not about marriage, is it? Because I done gave you everything I can give you about marriage. No. I don't want to talk about that no more.
No. One, it seems to be well, I put it this way. I was reading the Eastern Soap Post. And both of these questions was on page 10, right, Tima? Page 10. We're not going to talk about the left side. We're talking about the right side. I know you didn't read it, but it was about the election.
Oh, Jesus.
So before I go any further.
Vote the name you know. Nobody caught that but Acrobatic people. Trust me, nobody caught that but them. But go ahead.
Just your thoughts on the current local, state, and national elections.
The local election, I think people have gotten a miscommunication. Number one, and I'm now crazy getting ready to talk now.
I love it.
When the politician comes in your church, the first thing you need to do is cut your live off. Because, and I'm going to use this word, the black church is privy to do as it is led by God. So if I want the politician to come in and talk as he feels or she feels, that's my business. Cut the cameras off. That's number one. Number two, it's too much, oh boy, racist, back room. My mother used to say something to me, and I haven't talked about my mom a lot tonight. My mother used to tell me, say, Palmer, while you all are in the church shouting and running and preaching, I'm going to use another word. The white people is on their boat, in their barns, at their coffee table, strategizing on how they're going to run things. Now, I cleaned it up because she didn't say it that clean. Right. And it didn't really dawn on me until this year with all this buffoonery that's going on.
Yeah.
And I can say this because I don't plan on running for dog catcher. There is a nucleus of people. Now, you asked this question, I'm giving you the answer.
I'm ready.
That want to see us go back to where we were before you and I were born. And to do that, to achieve that goal, they've got to move certain skin tones out of certain positions Because if I move those skin tones out of certain positions and I put in all of one kind, things can go back to make America great again. And I can say that, like I said, because I'm not running for nothing. I'm going to stay right here. The problem that I have in Accomack County and probably Northampton County is not with the persons who are of one skin tone trying to move things back to the way they used to be. My problem is with us who have joined forces with them, who have forgotten from whence we've come. The year was 1983. I was a boy, very young boy, and I don't even know, you were probably a baby if you were born. What year were you born?
84.
Oh, no, you wasn't even here.
Thanks.
You wasn't here.
No.
But I remember vividly, that was the year that all of the blacks won clerk of court, board of supervisors. It was major in Accomack County. I don't remember Northampton, but it was major. Mm-hmm. And there were, and I'm going to call names, all of them are dead, Julia Major, Yvonne Boggs, so many others that were, Billy Gittins. They worked, C.C. Umbles, Maria Umbles, they worked untirelessly. And Kim probably knows some more names I don't even remember. Worked untirelessly to get these certain African-American people in these positions. And they would stay in them. Some of them stayed in those positions until they died. And now some of them are retiring from those positions. Do you know how they got them? They got them because black people came together. Look at my hands. This is crazy. The virtual church don't know this. The people here know. They came together. The problem with us, we won't come together. It's a sad indictment amongst the clergy. Yeah. The clergy, we're not together. We won't work with each other because some of us don't want to be bogged down with the traditionalism. We think everything should be the way it is with us. We want everything to be a certain way called our way. And then there are some others like myself that say, okay, you know what y'all want to do, just do it. I'm going to Ebenezer and St. Mary's and I'm going home. I'm not going to get tied up in the foolishness because I don't have time. So we're not together. And now we're seeing us in this election cycle not together. Now, the candidates have a part to play too, because they've got to be very mindful of what they say in public. Because every word you say, everything I've said on this camera just now, someone is liable to take it tomorrow morning and twist it. But say, I don't care, because my job is not predicated on votes. My job is predicated on these people in here. And what I've said, they're not going to vote me out for it. And I'm not running for nothing for November. The candidates have to be careful what they say. You can't say everything you feel. Yeah. And the black church cannot allow their cameras to run while you talk, while you speak. Because what people fail to realize is when you get up in front of people, you don't always say it the way you practiced it. Yeah. I knew some of these questions tonight because we've been talking for the last 3 or 4 months, but I did not know how you had worded them. All of this is off the cuff for the most part. I knew the subject matter, but I didn't know how he was going to word it. So that's the local level. I can't really talk too much about the state level because I'm not really following that right now. But let me tell you about this national level. The national level has issues on both sides. I think there needs to be term limits for congressmen. Yeah. You run 4 years, you get to run for re-election for 4 more, and you can't run no more. Give somebody else a chance. And I think, and I don't want to upset any person in here who's over the age of 75, but I think after you get a certain age, you shouldn't be allowed to run for president. You're too old.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't want to be an 85-year-old pastor coming here trying to sing shine. And it's like, shine. I don't want to do that. I want to be home, resting, letting somebody else take the church because I don't have the energy and the drive. I don't have what it takes then. You follow me? Yeah. I didn't say go lay down and die. But know when your time is up. No, I better not say that because I got the camera on. We got to be careful because Trump is not, in my opinion, the biggest threat. Now, they ain't going to like that. Ron DeSantis is the biggest threat, in my opinion, because Ron DeSantis wants to take away anything and everything about African-American history.
Yep.
He wants to whitewash everything we went through.
Yep. And
you know, like I know, they murdered our black women. They had pregnant women, and they hung them, and they put them on, and they took one leg, another leg, and did malicious things to them. The white slave owners raped our black women, and they want to whitewash it. They want to act like none of those things happened. That's a lie. It happened.
Yeah.
Slavery happened.
Yep.
1619 happened.
Yep. It did. Yeah.
They went to the shores of Côte d'Ivoire and took off the Ivory Coast blacks and brought them here against our will and made us do what we did. It happened. Stop lying. And that's why it's important to vote. And to vote your conscience. Ebenezer tell you, I don't tell them how to vote, but I do tell them vote your conscience and pray before you go in there. What's your next question?
Well, something else happened last week.
What else happened last week?
The Nando Arcade.
Oh, Jesus.
And there are, I don't know, I think the issue I have with not the situation per se, it was just on the post and the fact this came from the editor's position and how that editor was trying to put down a black superintendent to make it seem like it's her fault or the fact that she did not speak up or the fact she didn't make no comment of the actions that happened between two high schools. Although we know they're rival schools, you know, I'm not gonna say what they did was right. It was totally wrong. Whatever, both sides was wrong. But for their position on that newspaper, it was more so they put more blame at Nandua than they did Arcadia. And the only reason Nandua got the bulk of the issue is because they had evidence. They had a TikTok video that was shown 24,000 times. Then it was taken off. So the next thing we know, we see Nando football team standing with a piece of paper in their hand, apologizing.
You want me to respond to that?
Because it might be, I might be leading to another way. I know when I read the article, and I kind of give credit to Tima because she had said something about it, and I wanted to know where it was on. And when I read it, I just got mad because it did look one-sided, and it also was not from one of us.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I've never played any sports other than in the neighborhood. And I played 8th grade. I was on the team for 8th grade basketball. So I'm not like Anthony. I'm not athletically inclined. I'm good on PlayStation.
Yeah, you are. I beat you too.
Yeah, you beat me. Joel, I'm waiting for Joel to come. I hope he's listening. Here's my problem. As long as I can remember, Nandua and Arcadia, Nandua and Northampton have always been rivals.
Yeah. Yep.
There was an incident many years ago, and Clarence and Anthony probably remember it. Kim, I know she does, that they broke out the window. I don't know what schools were playing who, but a bus's windows were broken. There were incidences where the kids, and this has been off the shore and on the shore, where the kids on the bus getting ready to leave the game to go back home had to be escorted because there were people all around the bus. So you have a black female superintendent who should have been superintendent 3 superintendents ago.
Yeah.
And so now if a piece of paper falls on the ground, it's her fault. You fail to mention one other thing. There's a black principal at Nandua High School.
That's right.
That we fought to get there to succeed the former deceased black principal. Where were the coaches? And why did they not be in place to make sure there was no foolishness going on in the locker room after the game? It goes back to what I said earlier with the church. And I'm going to really mess up somebody now. I didn't play sports, but I was friends with athletes. And this is how times have changed. There was a time when athletes came to school dressed for the game. I'm going somewhere. Had the tie on, the jersey over the tie, and they had hard shoes on, and they dressed for the game. And they looked like athletes. The coaches, if Tony Washington was the coach of Nandua High School's team last week or whenever this happened, there would have been no TikTok video. If John Howard Parsons was the coach last week, if Reginald Terry was the coach last week, I'm calling off coaches I know, there would have been no TikTok video because number one, there would have been ground rules laid before they left, before they got off the bus, before they left out of the locker room. This is what we're going to do and this is what we're not going to do. There's no discipline. There's no structure. And so now you've got certain school board members who are not of my hue, who want to bash and say they are a disgrace. No, they're not a disgrace. They're being kids. They're being boys. They are doing what we do in this era. They use social media for entertainment purposes, for all other purposes. That's just the season that we're in. I do sermons and put videos and stuff in it. That's the season we're in. If R.W. Wilson was to come back and see how I preach now with all this stuff, he'd die all over again. There's no teaching going on to teach these athletes how to be good sportsmen. Yeah. There's always been rivalries. You got beat 50 to whatever. You mad. You big mad. The other school had a video, but it was never brought out.
Right.
Never brought out.
Yep.
And so now you want to bash the black man's school. You want to bash the black superintendent, female superintendent, who's not playing football, but you're holding her accountable, and you're going to come to me and say, well, she's the leader. Yes, she is. But just like Sunday morning, if we don't make enough to make payroll here, it ain't all my fault. I can't make them give. She's the superintendent. They're the coaches. The coaches should have had a better handle on their teams. I can promise you, the 3 coaches that I just named, George Mizell makes number 4. That would have never, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd be talking about farming or raising hogs or what kind of fast car I'm going to get as I get ready to push myself
I got that too.
into this midlife crisis that I'm going to catch myself in on purpose. At the end of the day, these kids did this because, in my opinion, that was not proper supervision. And it's a sad indictment that all the children have to be punished for the mistake of a few. These coaches should not leave these young teenagers to their own vices. Where are the rules? Where are the regulations? When do you sit down and have a team meeting and say, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're not going to do? We're not doing that. And they are going to be hard on Dr. Hall because she's a female and she's black. And she's the highest paid, one of the highest paid persons in Accomack County. And that's the reason why some of the clergy have been getting together, going to the school board meetings, so that them all can see that she has support. Right. No, I did not go to very many school board meetings before. I have a reason to go now. I have a vested interest because I want to see her succeed. Because I know what she has against her. Coach, lead your team. Teach your team more than just the plays on the football field. There was a time, and Anthony Sharp can attest to this, there was a time where the coaches were father figures. Those boys didn't have a father, they looked to their coach as a father figure. What father do you take me as a father? Haven't I talked to you about stuff?
Yes, sir.
Now, we're not going to tell them what we've talked about, right. But we've talked as father and son. Right? Mm-hmm. Because you take me as a father figure, I take you as a son. The coaches should have a better handle on their team so that when these things get like this, these young men automatically know, hey, I can't do that. That should be accountability taught to those boys. No, Dominic, we can't do that, man. We can't put that video out. We might get in trouble. We're not teaching. We're not teaching. And so now, the least little thing is used against those persons who God has blessed. And once again, the church has to stand and take a stance. The church has to stand. You asked me.
I'm going to ask you a couple questions.
And then we're going home.
Rapid fire. So the first thing that comes in your head.
Oh, no.
First thing that comes in your head.
Oh, God.
Well, it's not bad. It's just for them to get to know Milton Palmer.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You ready?
I don't know if I am or not.
Where were you born and raised?
Little Boston.
What did you dream to be as a kid?
A farmer.
What was your favorite book outside of the Bible?
Charlotte's Web.
That was a great book. The movie made me cry. I ain't gonna lie about that one. What's your go-to comfort food?
Turkey wings.
Do you have any unique talents or hobbies outside of the pulpit?
I can build stuff.
What is the most adventurous thing you have ever done?
I can't tell you that.
Okay.
But it has to do with a combine. I will tell you that. Yes, sir!
Who would you want to play you in a movie about your life?
Lord. That's a good one. Eddie Murphy.
Oh, God. He probably could do that.
Or Richard Pryor.
Oh, God. Well, yeah, but with his mouth, yeah.
Richard Pryor.
What's your dream travel destination?
Dubai.
Dubai. I knew that. Best thing about being a pastor?
The people. Now ask me the worst thing about being a pastor.
What's the worst thing?
The people.
Do you have a favorite sermon that you ever preached?
Dry bones. And I have not preached that this year. I preach it every year. Dry bones.
Dry bones.
Yeah.
What advice would you give your teenage self?
Oh, God. Don't try to grow up too fast. Stay young. Don't try to go after life before time. I missed out on a lot of my childhood trying to be grown. And it hurt me early in my ministry because I missed out on it as a teenager, but I made up for it at the wrong time. Yeah.
What's your favorite movie or TV show?
Oh, God. Bonanza. Favorite movie? I don't know. I have so many. I don't even know. I can't begin. But anything Westerns.
Anything Western.
Yeah.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
To snap my fingers and make whatever I want come to be.
What's your all-time favorite song?
Let's Get It On, Marvin Gaye. You asked.
You did. I did.
You didn't say gospel, so you just said
I
song.
said I had genre, but
You asked, man. You speechless?
how do you like to spend your weekends? Getting it on?
Yeah. You know I spend my weekends working at Cooper Numbers Funeral Home. That's the only, well, no, I'm gonna be honest. Most of that's what I'm doing. I don't think I know how to do weekends other than that. A Saturday for me, if my sermon's done, is to get up about 10 o'clock, go to the diner, eat everything that I ain't supposed to eat, ride my four-wheeler, sit in my game room, and go to Captain George that Saturday evening. That's an ideal Saturday. That don't always happen, but that's an ideal Saturday for me. That's what I would like to see happen.
What's another job you think you're good at?
Other than the ones I do, a job that I've never done? I don't know. That's a good question, Dominic, because I've done so much. I've worked construction. I've done it all, just about.
Yeah.
I've never drove truck other than grain trucks.
And you don't do electric.
I don't mess with electricity. Plumbing.
I know that for a fact.
I don't care where the water goes. You can always fix that. I don't even change light switches. Light bulb is all I'm doing. Don't do electrical.
Morning person, night owl.
Night owl.
What's your favorite season of the year and why?
Fall season, because that's when I make my money. I love the fall too because it's not too hot, not too cold. Holidays, I like holidays. I like them now more than I ever have. Figure that out later. Fall of the year.
What's a skill you would love to learn in the future?
None.
If you would have dinner with anybody dead or alive, who would it be?
Whew. One person,
It could be multiple.
Martin Luther King. Abe Lincoln. Barack Obama. That's it. I can't name nobody else. I'll say that for the after party.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received as a pastor and as a man?
As a pastor, Carl Baylock said to me, and I can tell you where it was, the association had gathered at New Macedonia Baptist Church. We were sitting at the Holiday Inn, and he said, Palmer, pastoring is a long-term investment. Don't use it all up too soon. And I took it, and I've lived by that. And what he meant was, don't wear yourself out too early, because this is for the long haul. As a man, one of my fathers said to me, I can't say that out loud. Let me clean it up. Save yourself, because there will come a day that self might not be self. So save yourself. Now that's the cleanest I can get that. They're going to take that and run with that.
What's your favorite way to relax or de-stress?
You's really putting all my business out tonight. Shoot pool, ride my four-wheeler, travel, sleep. The older you get, the more you appreciate sleep. I used to not like sleep.
Amen.
I used to not like sleep, but now sleep has become one of my friends. A good nap is number one. I have not mastered the Sunday afternoon nap like some have, but a good nap, sleep has become my friend.
What's a recent book, movie, or TV show, recent, that you enjoy? Don't say Chicago.
A TV show, Queen Charlotte. I love Queen Charlotte. I binge watched it every night, all the way through all the episodes, because I love history. Yeah. And so to see a movie depicting black people in colonial times on the same level as white people, that was amazing to me. That and anything Law and Order.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the most interesting place you ever visited?
Iberville Street, New Orleans, Louisiana.
And the last one, what's a goal or dream you currently working towards?
Retirement. No, I'm just playing. I want to go through my midlife crisis because I want a sports car that I can't get in.
Porsche?
Yeah, 911. And I don't want a new one. I don't need a new one. 2014, 2015. And I'm going to drive it to church, and I'm going to make sure nobody's outside when they see me roll out of it. Clarence will be the only one sitting in his car listening to gospel, so he ain't going to tell nobody.
Hey, Pastor, you all right?
I'm going to roll out of that car because I'm like Anthony. I'm tall and big. I'm going to roll out of that car and roll into the church.
I got it, Clarence.
And
you
then,
sure?
yeah,
like
and then I'm going to wait till everybody leaves.
You know Clarence ain't going to leave you.
Clarence going to leave me. Everybody going to go. I'm going to say, I'll lock up. And then I'm going to squeeze myself back in there.
Clarence going to take that phone out and take that picture and keep playing with it.
I ain't even got that part to worry about. That would be no pictures by him. Yeah. Yeah.
But they won't.
Every man ought to have a goal that he will do for himself. Not for your wife, not for your woman, not for your woman, for those that are single, not for your children or for yourself. I used to want a big house. Now that I have this house to take care of myself, big house don't excite me now. Now, you women, all you ladies that clean up and clean well and do all that, my hat goes off to all of y'all that do that. I don't need all that now. But every man ought to have a goal before he dies. And I go back to my mother. My mother was a car fanatic. And so I inherited the trait. And the last car she bought was a Jaguar. And she wanted a Jaguar. She always wanted a Jaguar. She said that she couldn't afford it. My mother was very, very conservative. And so every time it was time to buy a car, so you gonna get a Jaguar? No, Palmer, I can't do that. No, Lord, no, I can't do that. So the last time she bought a car, she said, Palmer, I'm gonna go buy a car. And I was always excited because she would always pass me the old car. Well, it didn't work like that this time. She had an Audi A4.
Yeah, that thing was nice.
And
Lord, that thing was nice.
me and her were together one day, true story. We was coming through Belhaven, right there where you turn off by Shore Fertilizer. And she said, Palmer, let's see what she can do. I was driving.
Oh, Lord.
I said, are you serious? She said, yeah, because there was nothing on the highway. I got up to 110.
With your mom?
And she's with my mother in there, and she was enjoying it. True story.
Yeah,
and it got light in the front. And she said, Palmer, you better come out of her now. You better come out of her now. And so I knew then that I wanted her to pass that car down to me. And so when she got ready to get a new car, she said, Palmer, I'm gonna trade out. I said, you gonna do what? Here I am pastoring the Lord's people. And the blessing is you pass me down your luxury cars. I ain't got to buy one. You're going to trade it in. And so she said, well, Palmer, I'm going to go ahead and get the Jaguar. I said, oh, thank you, Rosala. And I said, okay, when we going? And so she said, so we went and got a Jaguar. And that was her last car. And so she told me, said, Palmer, now, you know, I don't normally let you drive my cars. But I'm going to let you drive this one here a little more than you drove the other ones. And so that Jaguar really turned out to be mine because I drove it more than she did. And so I've got a car fetish from her. My mother had Corvettes before any other. She was the only black woman on the Eastern Shore that had two Corvettes, and one was a Stingray. And Buddy Pole told the story better than anybody I'd ever heard, and Doris Sample. And she would just laugh and grin, and she said, Buddy Pole would say that her second husband, because my mother was married 3 times, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it one more time, that's going to be it. Her second husband had Buddy Pole. They left Jackie Doer's Greater. You don't know nothing about that. And he said, second husband carried him through Pana so fast. They went up the road, turned around by Sunday, come back. Said he didn't even see Jackie Doer's Greater when he went by.
Good. Jeez.
Didn't even see it. Children have told me that when school let out, and my mother would leave school with the buses, that she would get and go past the buses and stomp her and just go. And so I have a need for speed. And so before I die, I'm going to get a Porsche 911. And I'm going to enjoy. I might not have no license. That's fine. We don't own a van, so I ain't got to drive the church van. I won't have a license. It won't be the first time I've lost my license. I won't have a license. And I'm going to have me a good time. Every man, before he dies, needs to do something. And it may not be a car. Every man ain't no car fanatic. Right. It could be something else. And so that's where I am.
What was your first car?
My first car was a 1982 Ford F-150. I was raised during a time where you drove what was in the yard. I wanted a Honda Accord EX. My mother wouldn't buy it because you had 3 vehicles in the yard. You drove them. So I drove them. And my favorite car that was handed down to me, which I still own, is a 1988 Lincoln Mark 7, blue with a blue rag top, and I still own it to this day. And I have a 1985 GMC van, both of my antiques. I refuse to sell them. I know a man right now is probably watching. He is begging me to sell that van. I refuse. I'm never. I don't care how bad times get. I'll go work Purdue first. Tyson's. Clam House if I can find one before I sell those 2 cars. That's right. That's right.
So out of all your cars, which was your favorite that you own?
That I owned? I had an Eddie Bauer Explorer. That was the first vehicle that I bought myself. My mother co-signed for that car. And that was my favorite vehicle thus far. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's all my questions.
That's all I have. I want to say something to you, Dominic. I've enjoyed this month of doing these clergy conversations. And we get ready to transition now to something else. I didn't know how this was going to turn out. I didn't know how many were going to come. I didn't know how it was going to be. And nothing really nerves me with ministry. I don't get nervous fast. But I got nervous with this today. But I want to thank you because you ride with me. And I want to thank y'all, them all, you all, because 21 years you rode with me on this ride, and we're still riding. And I know, and Tima's going to shout, I am not the easiest person to get along with. Amen, Walls. But I wouldn't trade none of y'all in this room. I don't know who's online. I wouldn't trade none of y'all in this room for nothing. And y'all know I love you. Now, we promised you an opportunity to ask me questions. He doesn't ask everything else. Y'all know my favorite song. Y'all gonna take that and run with that. Don't y'all stay on Sunday because I like less. I ought to go and write a sermon entitled "Let's Get It On." Anybody? Don't give me the ideas. I promise y'all, and I don't want anybody to say, Pastor, you gonna let us ask you questions and you didn't let us do it. Does anybody want to ask anything? Hurry up before I change my mind. Not you, Tima. You and Kim can't ask no questions. All right.
That's all I got. That's all yours.
Sunday morning is coming, y'all. I want to thank not only the people in person, but I want to thank the people online. I appreciate you. This is something new. It's not new now, it's old, but it's new to the shore. And I want you to stay tuned, stay connected, because you haven't seen anything yet. We're getting ready to take this podcast to a whole nother level. And you're going to see some major interviews, some major stuff going on. I've got ministries that I've got to interview in my church. And so you're going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot. Thank y'all. Dominic, you got anything?
I'm good, man.
God bless you. Good night. God our Father, we thank you for all you've done, all you're yet to do. We thank you for the relationship that pastor and people have in this church. And we pray, God, that you bless us in every area that we stand in need of. Guide us and protect us. In the precious name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Now, for those men that's here,